everyone, so if everyone can kind of shush for the next minute, that's cool. Okay, starting now. Okay, so hello everyone, this is your big O recap team here. I'm of course Tommo. I'm being joined by the usual partner in crime, Liam Colston. How are you doing today, Liam?
Good, thank you, Tommo.
And our special guest for this week is Division 3's newcomer, Nubbs11. How are you doing, Nubbs?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm pretty good, considering someone's just followed right in the middle of our... Oh, that was you. You've kind of...
Sorry.
You kind of had my sound effect and everything going on over the conversation and everything there, but because it's you, it's okay. So, yeah, guys, this is us going through all the teams, well, not all the teams, a few of the teams from each division from each week. Well, usually each week. You'll have to forgive us for last week, it was a bit hectic. But anyway, so, as always, we're going to start on Div 3. And Nubbs, as our guest, will be taking the first pick of the teams in each division, but because your team's in this division, let's start with what you think of your own team, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. So this is actually the first time I've ever played Bretonians. I came from Tabletop, where we've actually got them in the league now, but they're only like a recent addition. And the team is slowly getting there. Got a move boosted blitzer, so that's nice. Got a dodge frenzy blitzer, so that's nice. Finally got the full complement of blockers. We've also got another blitzer sitting on 5-star player points, so they're getting there. I think my starting roster wasn't the best because I only had 2 rerolls, and I really think you should start with 3. But yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah, looking at your history, you've had like a bit of a rocky start so far. Like, if these games that could have gone either way, or like, just what's your general opinion of how you think the season's like went so far?
Yeah, look, I mean, the first game against Caleb the Skaven could have gone a lot differently. I think I got like 50 blocks and broke armor 7 times against Rats, which is a little bit rough. Then against Liam and the Chaos Dwarves, I really wanted to get a skill on a blitzer, so I tried to throw a pass. And I threw it. I could have just thrown it in the backfield, but I was trying to be greedy and score as well. And the pass failed. Then the ball scattered out in the open of all places. So that was a little bit rough. Third game in the Bretonian off, I feel like we were a little bit hard done by not to at least draw. And then the fourth game, we got a draw against the Dwarves, against Julian, which was a good game. It was a tough game, and a draw was probably a pretty fair result in that one.
Okay, yeah, we have seen, plenty of, like teams that have had like rocky starts and then, ended up in contention for playoffs towards the end of the season. So, it's still a long way to go before, the division's even remotely done. Do you have any kind of, player who you're tipping to be like your star player of the season? Like, it's obviously either your movement guy or your frenzy guy, but...
Yeah, I dare say the movement guy will hopefully be the star, but I also feel like if any of my blitzers get an edge boost, they'll be the star player because I'll just do everything with them. Edge 4 is OP. But yeah, I think I do love Frenzy, but I think the move boosted guy is probably what's going to carry me. That move, going from move 7 to move 8, is so very good. So hopefully he can put in a lot of work. The blockers are actually pretty good too, but none of them are they're hard to skill up. Mostly because you just focus on picking the ball up with the blitzers. You don't want to get hit with a ball carrier that's got wrestle. But yeah, hopefully the move A guy can carry me to a few victories here and there.
Yeah, with Guy the Venerable, if you get your 1 SPP in the next game and you roll normals, are you just going to be looking to take Blodge or something a little bit more exotic?
I think it's probably just Blodge, but there also is a pretty big temptation for me to go leader. It has made the few times where I've had 3 rerolls for a half, it has made a really big difference. But I also feel like having Blodge is just really, really good. Like, it's boring, but it's good.
It's not boring. Says I'm a
It's a
Dark
little
Elf player,
boring.
so. Okay, so is there
Yeah, I
anything
gotta
else?
agree with Nubbs. Well, yeah, I mean, leader is very important, but dodge is very important too. That's a pretty hard choice, to be honest, there. Because since the rerolls are 70k and you're going to have to pay so much for it and you're on no cash at the moment, it's going to be a while before you get that third reroll, so. But there's
Yeah,
not much tackle in Div 3.
there's not much
Yeah,
actually in
that's
Div
true.
3 to tackle, is there? It's all big bashy teams just hitting each other the majority of the time, so.
Yeah.
But no, I like the leader pick as well. Depending on, if you get if you have a good game and you get like a couple of levels ups, like I could see leader being a good choice. Reese has made it work for him for a long time up in Div 1, so yeah. Is there anything else in this team that either of you want to add, or are we moving on?
No, I don't really have anything to add. I think, yeah, it's been interesting playing Bretonians, and it's been interesting hearing how, I guess, all of you guys sort of rate Bretonians, because my experience with them so far is I rate them probably like a solid tier 2 team, but I feel like there's a few guys that would rate them as like a more of a tier 1.5 team. But I just feel like the lineman having Fend is nice, but having Edge 2 and Armor 7 is so bad when you compare them to like a human lineman. So they're all right. It'd be better if you could choose when to use Fend 2. There's a couple of games where the person I was playing would have had to follow up into a disadvantageous position when they frenzied, but because I couldn't choose not to fend, they got away with it. But that's all right.
Yeah, of course. Come Legendary Edition, they're making a lot more optional skills, like properly optional. So, maybe next season you'd be able to make those choices and things. I think the reason that a lot of people in the Big O especially kind of like value Bretonians is that mainly due to Reese and quite a lot of his like success playing the Bretonians teams. Like a lot of people, myself included, have been quite frustrated by hitting Fend and everything every now and again, and getting a few things just kind of not really kind of like working out that you expect them to. So, and a few other players that I've like since re-rolled from Bretonians all had quite a lot of good success with them. So it's probably just kind of a local meta thing rather than a more overarching kind of picture. But anyway, moving on to Liam's choice. Who's your team in Div 3 this week, Liam?
I think I'm going to look at Masters of Div 1 because they're looking really nasty now. So yeah, I know Yasmir sacked his bull. He originally Morka actually had +1 movement, but he suffered a -1 armor. So he sacked him and got a new one, which I know he was talking to me about that, and yeah, I think that's a pretty good idea, really. I think he said that he'll probably take break tackle first on him as well. From my experience with Chaos Dwellers this season, break tackle on them first was probably the best decision I've ever made, just because they can't tie them up with a lineman. Like, sure, block's really good, but you've got the rest of your blockers a block anyway, so you're going to not use too many rerolls. So if you've got 3, you only need it for picking up the ball and the occasional 1 in 9 on the Bull Centaurs. But what really makes this team scary is the fact that it is getting good development on the Chaos Dwarves. which is huge. They're much more developed than my Chaos Dwarves by contrast. And I think development on the Chaos Dwarves is much more important than development on the Bull Centaurs, really, because Bull Centaurs, it's great to get the block and break tackle. Once you've got that, you're pretty happy with them. And they're great players, don't get me wrong. But the Chaos Dwarves are where you got 6 of them and where you really win or lose the game. And this Claw Mighty Blow 1, that's really cool that he's gotten Claw Mighty Blow already in such a bashy division. And then he's got another Mighty Blow and 2 Guard. And the Guard is great because he needs to be able to outbash people because he's a Chaos Dwarf team. And yeah, really good development, especially considering he hasn't had the bye. Like when he has the bye, he can probably just sack all his hobgoblins and put more MVPs and SVPs on the important players of the team. So yeah, this team's looking really set. They're 2-1-1. So not the greatest start, but Chaos Dwarves never really are that good at the start, and he's definitely had some tough opponents so far. So yeah, I think he's going to be coming home really strong towards the end of this season.
I think it's only slightly ironic that Walkerthon is going to be his main blitzer and killer, where meanwhile Papa Nasty's sitting here looking like he's going to be getting guard or something of the like. It makes me really wish you would have kind of like renaming involved. Because Walkathon, that should be the one spamming guard all over the place and Papa Nasty killing people. But
That is a good point.
Overall about the Bulls though, I'm kind of like half and half. I think that I would always put block on one first and break tackle on the other one, and then for the second skills I would get whichever one I didn't get before. Because you're right, I think being able to move them around is like really big, but at the same time, sometimes it's nice when you're playing kind of like a team full of strength 3 just to have at least one guy with strength 4 that you can guarantee to start hitting people consistently. And sometimes like you need to use your bull centaurs as kind of like big blockers early on until you get a bit more guard and stuff on your chaos dwarves. But 3, 3, and
What
2.
about you Nubbs?
So he had a move 7 bull that was armor 8 and he cut it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I would have kept it until I would have at least kept it and seen how much of an impact it had on the team and whether he was sort of losing it. Because move 7 on a bull is pretty good, especially go move 7 break tackle. That's pretty good. But yeah, the Chaos Dwarves, the blockers, are looking really, really good. And I definitely agree. I would agree with Liam. I'd go break tackle first skill on both my bulls. But then it also, I think, depends a little bit on what you use your bulls for, whether or not you carry the ball with them or not. I know there's a lot of split between Chaos Dwarf coaches about whether or not you carry the ball with a bull or a hobgoblin. I think if you're carrying it with a bull, you go break tackle. If you're not, then you go block on one and break tackle on the other.
Yeah, I think that's fair overall. How many games does this team had though? Like, it's what? 8. Okay, so that's still pretty good on 8 teams. The stuff he's got, like, especially considering the fact he sacked a bull that had a lot of development on it as well. So
yeah, that's a lot of skills for 8 games.
Yeah, the Chaos Dwarf blockers have really skilled up so well for this team.
Yeah, rolling doubles on is really, really nice on any of your like Chaos Dwarf blockers early on. Because again, you can just go, right, this guy's going to be the one killing people. And then you just start guarding up on the rest of them. Although you've got a lot of Mighty Blow. Would you have just gone Mighty Blow on all of them instead? Or
I only like Mighty Blow because it means I get the other things quicker. And also looking at my schedule, I think I had some of the less armored teams first up. Yeah, because I had the 2 orc teams and Yasmir in the last 3 rounds. So that's why I went Mighty Blow first, because I like getting my skills, trying to get them really quickly. but it's actually worked better for Yasmir. Interestingly, he's actually skilled up quicker than I have, so he's done very well there.
Okay, awesome. So, the last team we're going to be looking at in Div 3 was my pick, and it's Brain on Slugs' Nurgle team, Poopy Smells. And the big reason that I've kind of, singled this team out is it's the Strength 4 Pestigore, and what you're going to do with him. I think we had a little bit of a discussion about this on kind of like, the season preview, but you can kind of like look at it in a little bit more context now, and as well as all the other development on his team. So he's got the Dirty Player Rotta, which, yeah, I'm a huge fan of on Nurgle teams. Rottas are cheap. They can do a lot of kind of, normal jobs with like their 3/3. They can pick the ball up in a bind. They can't really move very fast, but they're gonna stick around. And Foul really helps them with that. He's gone for all 4 Pestigores to start, which again I'm a huge fan of because I think developing these is going to be like one of the keys, definitely when he starts kind of like bloating out to the higher TV. I think you really need to take advantage of kind of just the access and the movement of the Pestigores, and especially like we said, Rectal Rupture with that plus strength. I've always said from the start I'd be developing him as a strength 4 ball carrier because it's going to be so hard to try and get the ball off of a strength 4 guy with like sure hands and everything. It automatically stops any kind of. I know there's not really any big Wood Elf teams in the division, but if you were going to come up against someone that had like a big, like agile Saka, it's just going to be like going into red die, whichever way you look at it, which I think is amazing. He's got Rectal Rupture, who can do a lot of his, with Mighty Blow, who can be his primary blitzer, and block on Rectal Torture as well. It's just solid and consistent. Looking at the Warriors, Claw on one of them, again, that's a great start. And Block Guard, again, is pretty standard and consistent. I can see this team maybe bringing a lot of trouble for a lot of teams, especially maybe like if they can, really use the strength advantage against a lot of the strength 3 teams at the start. It can really put them under a lot of pressure. Especially, for example, I would think that this team would do okay against your team, for example, Liam, because whereas you've got a lot of Mighty Blow, you don't have a lot of guard. At least you didn't the last time I looked. And using Strength 4 and really, being able to knock the dwarves around, I think could be a key to success in something like that.
Yeah, this team is going to be a pain to play, and I'm sure Nubbs would think the same thing. They're going to be pretty annoying. They're starting to get block and stuff, like all of the Chaos, the Nurgle Warriors are in range of their next skill to get block if they don't already have block already. So, yeah, I do not want to play this team.
Yeah, this team looks real scary. Once this team gets a beast of Nurgle, he'll have 6 of his 11 players will be strength 4 or more on his starting lineup. That's pretty scary.
Starting with the Beast of Nurgle, yes or no for you guys when you're looking at building a Nurgle team?
Oh,
Yes,
I
for
haven't played
me.
Nurgle for a while. I think on the tabletop you gotta go with the Beast of Nurgle. On here, I think usually, yeah, I do as well.
I just feel like if you're playing Nurgle, the only reason you're playing them is for the beast. Otherwise, you just play Chaos. So you got to start with the beast.
That's fair play. I quite like the the disturbing presence and everything though of the Nurgle Warriors, honestly, as well as it's Nurgle's Rod, isn't it? That just seems to always pop up at like the worst time, or is it what is it? No, Foul Appearance.
Foul appearance, yeah. Nurgle's Rot gives them a player when they kill someone.
Yeah, Foul Appearance always seems to hit me when I'm playing against like Nurgle teams at least 3 or 4 times a game, and it's always like that one block that you really want to succeed, and then it just doesn't. I get so obnoxious, but I'm a bit of a troll when I'm playing on Champ Ladder sometimes, so I quite like things like that. If we have a look at his history and his statistics, he's actually only 1 win, 3 draws, 4 losses. So it's a bit of a rough start, but I think you kind of expect that with like Nurgle teams in general. Especially when you look at some of the teams he's played, kind of like Masters of Div 1, for example, with like Chaos Dwarves just having so many skills and things at the start. And who else has he played? The Orcs again. That's a team that he can't really bash around as much as he should be able to against some of the other teams. Where have I gone? My client's messing around right now. Okay, there we go. So, yeah. Who's he? Is he played this week? Brain on Slugs. Oh yeah, it was a 1-1 draw against the two teams we've just looked at. Interestingly enough, he actually only made one armor break all game, which is
only one. That's rough.
Yeah, especially when you look at the fact he does have his claw piece. Unless he got the claw piece on the. No, it was Chode that got the MVP, and Rectal Rupture got 3. So he definitely had that claw before the game. So you would expect it, claw to do something against dwarves, but apparently it didn't. So looking at the leaderboard, we have Liam and Caleb sitting shiny at the top right now, with 3 wins, no draws, no losses. You've played your 4th game though, haven't you, Liam? Has it just not gone through on here yet?
No, I haven't. It's just I have the buy.
Oh,
It hasn't
okay.
been processed yet. Yeah.
So on the caster resources, you've just already updated it.
Yeah,
That's
put
fine.
in the buy. Yeah.
Okay, so Liam will be going up to 4-0. Caleb is playing this second. He's in chat giving us updates, so we can talk about that when that game's finished. Then we have Sir Robin's Brave Band, coached by Warhammer Frog in 3rd, Dwarves in 4th. And again, it's still early days. The division is still super close. Any coach that strings together a couple of wins, like if some of the teams at the bottom beat the teams at the top, they could go top easy. There's no one that's uncatchable or anything at this point. So, yeah, that's just the state of Div 3 right now.
Yeah.
You guys got anything to add about Div 3 before we move on to Division 2?
No, I think, like you said, it's still early days. It's still pretty close. Team at the bottom beats a team at the top, and everything just sort of comes back together. Liam and Caleb are slowly starting to pull away, so I think if people don't start beating them, they could start running away with the division. But, yeah, other than that, it's still pretty close. Still early days.
Awesome. Okay, let's move on to Division 2. Have you got a team you want to talk about in Division 2, Nubbs?
Yeah, so I think they're actually the ones on top, the Norse, the Drakia's Dominators by D's MFK.
Okay.
Yeah, they are. They're 4-0. They're doing really well to start the season.
Yeah, that's a Norse team I could set my watch to. That's a nice looking Norse team. So he's got the strength 5 Ulf. He's got a strength 4 Berserker. He's got a move 8 Edge 4 Runner, a strength 4 Lineman. There's a lot of green, a lot of skills. I can really see why this team's starting to dominate. Like that Runner, move 8 Edge 4 is just going to score for fun. He's starting to get like those strength boosts. He's just going to bully people around, especially with a little bit of guard. When he starts putting that on some players, he's got guard on an Ulf already. And with all the Frenzy, I love Frenzy. It's my favorite skill, so I love Norse. And yeah, this team is looking really good.
Is it Rel that these came over from, yeah? This season?
I think so.
It wasn't G-Man, was it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. I know there's a G-Man player in here as well. I could have a look at the time zones of everyone real quick. These came over from... Where is he? Yeah, East Coast US. Yeah.
Okay.
So he's from the REL, I would guess.
Yeah, looking at a team like this, I could see this team easily surviving in like Big O Div 1, never mind like Div 2, you know what I mean? And you know, it's just it's pretty sick, to be honest. We always cheer against the imports and everything, apart from like Daysavi, because he started from scratch over here. Kind of seeing kind of like someone bring this team over here, it makes me wonder, just what happened over in Rel to actually get like this. I mean,
Are you saying that Rel isn't very high quality, Tom?
Where did it all go wrong over there?
I know Div 1's a meat grinder after what happened to your elves, kind of like, like last season. I kind of kept my eye on your team because I knew you, but like, overall I'm just like, what?
I think Rel coaches love to beat things up. That's been my experience of being over there.
Well,
even if they're not a good coach, they beat things up very good.
How do they get so many players capable of beating each other up if they're all beating each other up? That's the question I've got. No one knows.
It's just an endless supply of elves and noobs, and they just beat them up and send them back down the bottom. They've got like 6 divisions this year, so they're huge, the REL.
Oh, how many coaches would that be with 6 divisions?
It's like 100 or something.
That is a lot of coaches.
Yeah, 6 times 14 is like 84. So
that's pretty cool.
It is pretty impressive.
Yeah, ReBBL is pretty huge when you start looking at all the 3 different time zones and everything. We were hoping to get like either a 3rd or even a 4th division in Big O, but that didn't really work out, did it? So, but no, yeah, like this is an incredibly developed team with so many steroids and everything on their players, and I'd be scared to play this with my Dark Elves. If you look at this team, that I don't know how many seasons he's gone through. Look at statistics. He's what 14, 6, and 4. So that's what 24 games. So that's maybe 2 and a bit seasons.
Yeah.
Like,
see, this team. The thing about it as well is since this division is so I don't know, wussy you could say, because they all Skaven and elves, but the thing is, he really needs a big team like Larks to come and beat him up, because the problem with Norse is that only strength access is on their players you really want to be blitzing with, the Berserkers, the Orphan Wearers, and the Yeti. And I don't think he doesn't even have a Yeti, which I like.
Yeah, he's got a Yeti. It's got block.
Does he? Oh yeah, sorry, he does. Yeah, he does have a Yeti in there, but it's got block, so it's very misleading. But like there's only 1 guard. Of course, Lark will happily remind you that he has 11 guard on his team. They actually play week 9. I just checked. But the problem is, since they're all elves, this sort of hybrid team is really going to run riot this season. I can't see many people beating him. I think if he had to meet like Papa Nasty or Walkathon, he'd be in trouble. But since he doesn't, he's going to be really nasty, this team.
Yeah, he played against, Catastrophe already, hasn't he? Yeah, that was a 2-0 win for his team. You can see why. Like, what Catastrophe played, like, 4 games last season in his 4 spin games? And then, what was it, like, first game of the season or something? He's playing against this? You're like, right, okay.
Yeah, that's not fun.
That's just what Division 2 is like. You got some very new, very fresh teams, and then you've got, teams like this that are like, wow, okay. But anyway, moving on to our next team. Liam, your choice in Div 2 is...
I was going to have a look at... You were looking at SI, weren't you, Tommo?
Yeah, that's my pick.
Yep. So I was looking at Cold Coast, that's right. Because we haven't looked at them.
Oh, another Norse
team. The other
team.
Norse team. Yep, this is the Aussie Norse team, so we're sort of supporting this one a little more. Not that we're biased at all.
He's lying. We're completely biased. At least I am.
Yeah. Sorry, D's. We like the Big O natives. If you stick around for a bit longer, and we'll like you. But this team, same thing as the last team. They're of course not quite as nasty, but they don't need much guard because they're coming up against Skaven, your all your softer teams. And Sam Slade is a really good coach. We saw him up in Div 1. This team's record actually doesn't do his coaching ability justice. I think he got beaten up a bit in the bottom end of Div 1 last season because he missed out on a lot of games at the start of it. But he's already played Lark this season, which is a huge hurdle because it means that now basically he's free to go and beat up and score on other teams. And like Rincewind is a pretty good player with block dodge, sidestep, fend, and sure hands. So really nice runners here. And the Berserkers don't look much like Berserkers actually at the moment. One's got block dodge, the other's got block dodge and plus AG. So yeah, this team has a lot of potential. Like Norse need their doubles and their stat ups to become competitive at higher TVs, and Sam certainly has that sort of thing. And he also has a divisions like demographic that favors him. So looking at his position, he's currently in third, but he has played this week. Some teams haven't. So Sam, top two go through. Sam Slade is probably one of the best coaches in this division, so I think he's got a good future ahead of him.
Yeah, my favorite thing about this team is actually the tackle. He's got 3 sources of tackle on his team, and 2 tackle on his linemen. Now, of course, Norse linemen have the luxury of starting with block, so you don't have to worry too much about that. Which means that you can take tackle like straight away, which being an elf player, that would annoy the hell out of me. You take care to line up all your nice blodge all over the place. You're like, hey, you can't knock me down. And then, all these guys with tackle are suddenly standing next to you, and you're like, ugh. My favorite, though, is Fingers with the diving tackle there. Like, diving tackle is a skill that's just... It can be so annoying. It's just, it terrifies people just to try and, like, dodge out of that. And then with sidestep, like... You have to commit so many guys just around him to make sure that he actually steps away from the ball. I think it's so good. Did Sam Slade buy that Ulf?
That Ulf, I think he did, yeah. I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah,
that really is a cool Ulf, isn't it?
Yeah, we haven't really talked too much about the player market or anything in general, or how it's used in like ReBBL. I think some people are still a little scared to dip their toes into it. Like for example, if Sam Slade really uses this Ulf, he can show people, just how good some of the players you can get out of the player market can actually be.
So is that you can buy players with already got skills and all that sort of stuff from the player market, is it?
Yeah. So kind of like how it works.
It is international too.
Yeah, so any ReBBL team at the end of the season, they can choose to kind of sell some of their players, or maybe if they're retiring a team, they can choose to send some of their players to the player market because they just want to see some of their players that they've played for so long with, kind of how they progress on like other teams and things. So who is it that runs it again? Is it oh god, let me bring up Discord. It's Ninja Pirate Assassin that does it, isn't it? He's kind of he's the one that masterminds all of the kind of like the player trading stuff in the off season. But again, I haven't really noticed too many players using it, so if this Ulf does particularly well, then maybe that will change.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. This team's very interesting because it is very much focused on the more agile teams, your elves, your rats, that sort of thing, like with the tackle, with this diving tackle. It'd be interesting to see this team, how it matches up against your dwarves, chaos dwarves, orcs, those sort of things, because I think this team might struggle a little bit against those teams. But yeah, it's coming along nicely.
Yeah, in general, if this was, if the division composition was something like Div 3, then yeah, sure. But if we have a quick look at just the types of teams that are in Div 2, well, you've got Lark's team, which is like the big bash thing, but then you've got like High Elf, Skaven, Underdeveloped Chaos, High Elf, the Earthshakers, which we're going to move on to soon, Skaven, Wood Elf, Skaven, and then Nos, Skaven, Nos. So they're all teams that can break quite easy, and that have plenty of dodge and things available to them. So I think that's one of the big reasons I like the tackle picks.
Yeah, and the diving tackle sidestep's really good too on that runner. That runner's a superstar.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to the next team in Div 2. For my pick, as we've mentioned, I'm going to be talking about the SI Earthshakers. At the start of the season, I think it was the Earthshakers that had a lot of problems with their team, wasn't it? Like there were some like big gaps. I think he was missing a mummy and a white, which he's filled them in. I think it was this team. If I just check how many games played, Greendale Gouger has he's only played 2 matches, so he's still fairly new. He's got his 2 SPP. The whites, if we have a look at their games played, one of them's played 5. The other one has played 0. So that's a fresh buy right there. So again, his whites have just been recovered as well since the end of last season. And then you have the players that have actually survived on his team, and these are looking really, really good. Crafty Clarence, who is a Blodge Agi 5 ghoul. That's going to be so good for running through tackle zones and things and picking the ball up, ball recovery. It's just pretty amazing. Blodge Step, of course, pretty standard for keeping your guys alive. I love it. And then he's got the Blodge Strip guy, again for just kind of just getting the ball loose so that your IG5 guy can pick it up. And the same with this Rudge guy here. Wrestle also helping to defend it. The big thing that I really, really like on this team, though, is the 2 zombies that have rolled doubles and got guard. It's so good. You want to be using these guys just to, mark up normally, and for creating kind of, just extra tackle zones and things and assists so that your whites can actually get some hitting in. Hopefully, if you can position them well to tank some hits for the whites, and then, position them again to help the whites make some hits, the whites will be the ones that are getting some SPP on them with their early strength access. Caleb's mentioning in chat that Crafty Clarence is a 190k player, which is true, but he's like 2 SPP away from, his next level up, and you're always going to take agility on a ghoul if you get it.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome, really.
Yeah, he'll make that 190k back every game. He's well worth that.
We'll have a look at how he's been doing recently. So overall he's 968. He had a 1-1 draw with the Gold Coast Cutthroats who we were just looking at. He lost to the other Norse team, 1-0. And before that again he lost. So he's been losing some very close games from the looks of it. With the he got a 2-1 win over the Wumpfners, which must have been quite impressive if you think about like the state of his team back at that point. But yeah. What do you guys think of this team generally?
I think they've come a long way. That's the biggest thing. They were really looking shaky, and we were going, what are we going to, how are they going to survive in this division? But they've done pretty alright. Phage has coached quite well to get them doing well. And now Crafty Clarence, I'm impressed it survived that sort of player with no regen. Very impressive that survived. He just wants block or something on the mummies, because you can say that Crafty Clarence is 190, all right, but the mummy's actually 20k, which is a lot for something with no block. break tackle is all right, but that's right, he's 3 movement, so that's the problem. And grab, yeah, it's just meh. You really would like that block, and usually you'd be wanting to sort of cycle him and get in a new mummy if you've got enough cash, but he doesn't, and he can't really afford to do that at the moment, so that hurts him a little. But I don't know, what else do you think, Nubbs?
Yeah, I've actually played a lot of undead in tabletop leagues, and like the team is Tommy said, those 2 guard zombies are like amazing. Zombies are actually pretty durable players. Armor 8, regen. The ghouls are coming along like really nicely. The only thing, I wouldn't have gone block on the strip ball ghoul. I like having 2 block ghouls and 2 wrestle ghouls, so I would have gone wrestle strip ball on that on Dusky. And yeah, like you said, with the mummy, I mean, I actually I don't mind the break tackle just for the surprise factor. Sometimes people forget about it. They make a cage near your mummy and you go, well, I'm going to break tackle into the middle of it and cause some havoc. But yeah, I agree. If you get sort of 2 skills with a mummy and it doesn't get block, and hopefully you have enough cash to sort of cycle another one, you do it. But obviously he's been struggling in the cash department. So he's just, and it's sort of that mummy's sort of at the stage now where I don't know if you can really cut him. He's probably too attached to him to cut him, and he's doing all right. Grab's all right. Grab sidestep on a ghoul, you get a move boost and sprint. You can do some 1-turn scores and stuff like that when you get frenzy on a white too. So yeah, I think the team's coming along pretty nicely.
Okay, awesome. So, yeah, Phage the coach there with his 9 wins, 6 draws, 8 losses. Of course, he was a previous Div 3 coach that moves up to Div 2. If we have
So can I just clarify something too? So in Blood Bowl 2, you can have a Necromancer as part of your roster, can you?
It's just costs nothing though. It's just, yeah, the way Sino they've done it. Sort of like it's
Okay, yeah.
Apo, yeah, equivalent. That's how they've tried to do it.
Okay, so Liam, do you want to take us through the leaderboard in Div 2?
All right. So looking at Div 2, we have 2 imports on top. Me and Tommo, we've told you guys a lot about this. It needs to change. So bringing up after that, we have the Cold Coast Cutthroats and Fun Interactive. So those are 2 pretty decently, they're all right teams. They've been doing, it's interesting actually. Really, the top 2 have actually quite dominated the start of the season, because everyone after that is, not really better than a 50% record. Actually, Crusader's doing quite well to start the season, so he'll be very happy with that. Problem is his team's completely beaten up, but that tree touchdown last week was very impressive. The Rat Lovers, I think we're all expecting a little more from the Rat Lovers at the moment, just because they've had a tough draw to start. I think they just played Drakar's Dominators, if I remember correctly. Yeah, they did. And they've also played Gaudy, so they've played the top 2 teams already. But like, those are the games you really gotta win, because there's only 2 playoff spaces. You gotta beat the top teams if you want to, beat them out in the race to the top. So Slice, really, he needs to keep going. He's got, I believe, most of his team was kept intact. Of course, he had those 3 nutty AG5 guard runners. So he's really got to take advantage of that now. And yeah, everyone's still in it. Even Monkey Chunks, he might be getting a bit disheartened down there on 0-4, but he really hasn't been playing that badly. And he's high elves at the end of the day anyway. So, like, high elves aren't known for being great at early TVs because they aren't very good at early team values, but they've got quite a couple doubles and stat ups that will come good once they've got block and dodge on those players as well. So yeah.
Yeah, of course, High Elves have a little bit of a history in the Big O of doing really, really well towards the end of the season. So he'll be hoping that that's the case again. Anyway, moving on to Division 1. where it's been an interesting couple of weeks. But Nubbs, your choice of the teams here.
I'm a sucker for a good rat team, so I'm going to go with the Capital Rats, coached by Lynx. He's got. I've played. I reckon Rats are probably my most played tabletop team, and I reckon I've played probably close to 100 games with them, and I never got a move boosted gutter runner in my whole time I played them. So shout outs to P Costello there. Move boosted Edge 5. What more can you want from a gutter runner? I guess the interesting thing to note coming from tabletop playing in Blood Bowl 2 is that people don't seem to like the Rat Ogre on Rats. So I was just wondering, what do you guys think about the Rat Ogre?
He's terrible.
We both hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Everyone seems. What sort of reasoning behind not liking it do you have?
Okay, so I've talked about this a lot. I think that it could be fine early on, the same way that the Mino could be fine early on for Chaos, depending on how you're playing with it. But like taking a wild animal is a commitment to either blitzing with it or making sure that it's gonna be within like touching distance of an opponent like every single turn. And I think unless you're gonna make that commitment to blitz, it's not really worth the money. And then on top of that, it's so unreliable that blitzing with it can just sometimes get you in a hell of a lot of trouble. Like my brother Findico, when he was playing his game this week, I think it was like 4 turns in a row, is Mino like wild animaled. And I think if something like that happens, it can just put like a huge dent into kind of how you're playing. Now, the Rat Ogre in particular, I don't like because if you don't take them and you said you're focused on like your Storm Vermin and blitzing with them, you get some like really good SPP onto your Rat Ogre that wouldn't be on. SPP onto your Storm Vermin that could be on the Rat Ogre instead. Now, if you look at like M Turnbull there, who is absolutely ridiculous and is gonna kill things. I mean, just have a look at like how many kills he's got now. 3 kills and 89 injuries inflicted. Like, to me, it's not even really a choice. I'm just going to be, dropping it and going for the consistency of the Storm Vermin blitzes.
Yeah, fair call. I look at this team and I think it's a really, really good rat team, but I also look at this team and go, if I'm playing with this rat team against an orc team or a dwarf team or a chaos dwarf team, even an elf team, and they pick up the ball, I have no idea how I'm going to get it off them. And I think the rat ogre, for my mind, he just creates, even if you're not using him, he creates that little bit of doubt. You have him sort of sit towards one wide zone, and you know for a fact that the opponent is not going to go down that wide zone just for the fear of getting frenzied into the crowd. But yeah, it's just interesting that the Blood Bowl 2 meta sort of hates rat ogres and doesn't put them on the team. But yeah, I think this team's coming along nicely. I like the Storm Vermin number 2, Malcolm Turnbull. He's coming along nicely. I feel like the number 3 Storm Vermin, I like his skills, but I also feel like move 6 is pretty bad. And I mean, I'd let him sort of live out his natural life and die eventually, but I'd be tempted to cut him. I'd definitely be cutting the edge 2 lineman. The team's looking in a pretty, I guess, healthy state considering it's rats. So yeah, I think this team will do decently. One to watch, I think.
Yeah, Papa Nasty is pointing out in chat that he thinks part of the reason why tabletop players are more likely to take a rat ogre is because they get to paint a really cool miniature. And it is, if you look at them, like, some of the Skaven models in like the tabletop I'm not really a fan of, with those like tails that are pointed and everything, but the rat ogre is pretty damn cool.
So. It is. Don't even get me started on the fact that they made that stupid stab rule for the gutter runners.
Oh yeah, weeping day, and the reasoning behind it was so stupid as well. It's because the gutter runner figures have daggers, and that's the only reason behind it. It's like, come on, yeah, that was the reason behind it.
Actually, I just noticed B Chopper Bishop just got that plus strength. We haven't seen that before. We looked at the capital rights a little while ago. So, but yeah, that's a new development there. I bet he's a bit annoyed, Lynx, that he picked Catch. Because Catch is great when you start with it. I love Catch when that happens. However, picking it as a skill, it's not really quite as good. It is alright, but one of the worst skills you can get, because usually you want defensive skills, especially after you get that plus strength. But that plus strength still opens up lots of new options for Lynx to try and exploit.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. If you have a look at his history, he actually got a 2-2 draw with Bash Incorporated as his last game. I think his team's looking remarkably healthy after going through a game with like Papa Nasty, but especially considering he took 26 armor breaks. Yeah. Aside from that, though, yeah, 2-2 against Papa Nasty, 2-2 against TARDIS, which is another team that can beat him up. He lost 2-1 to the Ravens, and his previous game was a 1-all draw against the Astroworks. Like, looking at that, was that a friendly or was that a league? No, that was a league game. Looking at that, that's most of the big strength 4 teams in the league. I think he's gone through there with the Astroworks, TARDIS, and Bash. He's still got Walk Machine, but considering Walk Machine were a Div 3 team last season, they don't have as much development on them as kind of, like the Astroworks and Bash Incorporated. So I think, Lynx is going to be hoping that, he can use the speed and guile of the Skaven over the rest of the season to get some pretty good results.
Yeah. Shall we move on to my pick?
Yes, shoot.
So I'm going to look at the Astroworks. They've come off quite an impressive stretch of play. After losing to White Line the other week, they bounced back hugely, beating Bash Incorporated, which I was very stunned by, admittedly, because when you look at both teams, of course, Bash Inc. has all of their nasty blitzes. But obviously, the Blackhawks allowed Walkathon to outdash Papa Nasty, and they really are nicely developed Blackhawks if we have a look at them. Just the guard, block, mighty blow. It's the the holy trinity, I guess, of skills, of strength skills. They're just awesome. And then they're only going to get better. Next, they're probably going to get something like Stand Firm, and if they roll doubles, Dodge makes them even nastier. So he's done really well to keep them awesome. And we're going to have another Blackhawk is very close to skilling up, so I'm sure Walkathon will be trying to do that. But he actually had 2 blitzers die. Now the new blitzers currently have got a touchdown and an MVP on both of them. So yeah, the block diving tackle is pretty handy, especially if you go with guard next, which Walkathon loves his guard. Everyone knows this. I think this team actually played most of the best teams in Div 1 in its first couple rounds.
Yep, he's gone through
3 very good teams.
Yeah.
Capital Rats, White Line, and Bash Inc. So that's 3 veterans already. So he hasn't picked on any of the newbies, which I believe he's playing. Who does he have this round? Doesn't he have you next round, Tommo?
Yeah, he's got me next week. I'm not sure who he's got this week, actually.
It's Bay Area Butchers this week, and then Tommo. So those are 2 more to the hybrid side of things, humans and then Dark Elves. So yeah, Asterox really are looking to bounce back after everyone thought they might fall off the pace. Only real weakness is they don't have much Mighty Blow again, which they worked so hard to get their Pommer. But I mean, the blitzes are never far away when they start getting Mighty Blow and get the ball rolling. So yeah, good to see them bounce back.
The first thing that jumps out at me when I look at this team, though, is just how much tackle is on the team, and the answer being, like not very much. Um, I So this is me going into kind of, like thinking mode about, like looking at Walkathon's team as an opponent here. Like, I would have to hope that, my blodge holds against this team. With me, with like, I think I've got like 8 players or something that have got either, blodge or rudge now. Like, I would have to hope that, a team like mine would be able to hold its own against something like this. But overall, if the dice kind of like go and he starts like rolling a lot of powers, this is the type of team that could do a lot of damage to a team like mine. So 3 diving tackle, that's true actually. I missed that, Papa. Yeah. So with his movement 5 diving tackle there, and the diving tackle on sack on the 3rd. Diving tackle is better, yeah. Totally. I'm terrified of diving tackle. Like I won't dodge. It's the one thing I'll just be like, I won't dodge. But I would have to hope that by not dodging and taking the hit that the blodge would keep him up anyway. So I'm not entirely sure.
Diving tackle isn't. I know. Diving tackle is great. Don't get me wrong, but I would take tackle every day over it. What about you, Nubbs?
It's sort of hard to say because, like, you look at his number 5, was it with the diving tackle guard stand firm? It's like anti-synergy. Like, you want that guy to be standing with his guard stand firm, and then you give him diving tackle and put him on the ground, and it's like 2 of his skills are suddenly useless. So I think it depends on the player. Like, I look at his number 7 and I go, all right, well, he's got sort of block, diving tackle, then tackle. And yeah, whereas like I look at the number 4 and I would rather have tackle on that player. So I think it just sort of depends on the player. Yeah, because I mean, tackle is obviously very good offensively as well as defensively, whereas diving tackle obviously is only good defensively. So it's hard to say. I think it depends on the player. Like, yeah, what you want that player to do. Like, I wouldn't have a player that was sort of guard, diving, tackle. I would have gone guard, probably dodge as the doubles on that blitzer and stand firm. But yeah, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. It just depends on the individual player and the skill path you want to take him.
I think I can see what he's trying to do with Galileo there, trying to get it so it's the ultimate pain in the butt to get rid of, just because you can't push him away because of stand firm, and diving tackle means you can't dodge away, and guard means it's gonna assist no matter what. So yeah, I guess you are right though. If he does go to ground, of course, guard is pretty useless on the ground. But yeah, no.
Yeah, I think like Papa Nasty said, you want a good mix of the two, and he doesn't have a good mix of the two at the moment. He's sort of gone heavy diving tackle and no tackle. You want to make sure that they're diving tackling, they're dodging away from diving tackle and tackle if you can, because then, like Tommo said, he's not dodging away from just diving tackle. There's absolutely no way you're dodging away from diving tackle and tackle. Looks like Caleb won his game 1-0 as well.
Yep, that's news from the chat, so that means he will be top of Division 3 for all I know as well with Liam here. But yeah, I kind of feel like, Walkathon would have had more tackle at some point. I can't remember what the first, iteration of Hubble actually had, but... Oh, was that his Palmer? I don't know. Anyway, yeah,
His Palmer died.
Is that what Hubble the first was, though? Was that the Palmer? Or was that something else?
Might have been Sagan. I can't remember. I think it was Hubble, actually, come to think of it.
Yeah, apparently Walkathon has
Who
gone
was-
through quite a lot of players this season. But
Yeah, he has. Yeah, it was Hubble, because the Palmer was killed by the Ednor in week. Yeah. So he would have only had one game. The one that's only had one game is Hubble. So yeah. But yeah, shall we move on to Tommo's pick?
Okay, yeah. My pick in Div 1 is Crushevania. And the primary reason I picked this team to talk about is Gaibon, who I feel like we've been talking about ever since he came into the start of Div 3 with only Jump Up as his first pick, has now actually got plus agility, which makes him into a pretty godlike ball sacker now. You know, every time I see this player, I mention, like people forget he's got Jump Up, and then he does it, and he can get some surprise hits off, like jumping up and knocking down the corner of a cage, and then all of a sudden, the ball carrier's under threat. Now, with his plus IG, it makes the jump ups better, and it makes him, potentially, like dodging in to get some hits into the like ball carrier as well that he maybe wouldn't have tried before when he had agility 3. Looking at the rest of his team, the Suedo Mummy is still alive with the we're of course talking about, like, is that Allrocks, the fleshy here, who's still movement busted but with mighty blow. Now he's got guard and block as well, which is pretty amazing on a flesh golem. His other fleshy's still 0. And you look at this white Yorick as well, which I've got mixed feelings about, honestly. Like, I don't see any world where you don't take plus agi and movement, and I think that after his next couple level ups, he could be really, really good. But right now I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, okay, that's a Dark Elf Blitzer for 16k. And I'm like, But hopefully, like eventually, especially with, having the rest of the undead skill set, maybe he'll come in to be a player that really shines. Looking at everywhere else, he's got Rog on one goal, Blood Surehands on the other one. Slogger's still there with his just dodge as his like normal pick at the start, which is all fairly standard and everything. And again, just like the other team we looked at, he's got 2 god zombies. One of them only has movement 3, but I've already talked about how good I think it is having 2 god zombies. So I think everything I said before just applies here too.
Yeah, that move 3 got 1 P away from getting blocked as well, so he'll be pretty good.
Yeah, I'll just have a look at his history a second, just how he's going. So he just lost 2-0 to TARDIS. He lost 2-0 to Wes Seas Wolves in a kind of like a necro battle there. He got a 1-all draw against the Bay Area Butchers. And I had a really close game with him. Like for a really close kind of like 2-1 grind there. Which of course he beat me last season, so that was a game that could have gone either way. So, I think that even though his record's a little bit down, you look at this team and you can still see, the potentials there to, do a lot over the course of the season. Any thoughts, Liam?
Oh, I think they should do alright. Crushevania has been a real surprise how well Drac Tactics has gone. How's he started this season, actually? So he hasn't had a good start, sadly. So he's got... who's he got next round? Reese. Now, there's a time to pick on some kick a man when he's down. Poor Reese is at 1060 after losing 2 of his AG4 blitzes. So we haven't looked at that today, but if you want to, people watching, go have a look at that because that's pretty huge. Reese was one of the best players so far. And yeah, I think Crushevania could definitely get a win there against that team. And like the problem is we see it with lots of the teams coming up from like Div 3 particularly, is that they have like agility ups and strength ups and whatever. But the problem is they don't have the core skills to back it up, particularly on Crushivania, just the lack of skills on the white really hurts him, because guard and mighty blow are so important that you get on the whites, as well as tackle. Like, there's no tackle on this team, so it's going to struggle. Like, against white line, this team's going to really, really struggle. And also against teams like Lynx, because they're quick. So he really is a bit scared of Skaven, so to speak. Yeah, I think that's about all I have to add there.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a team, like, another season development on this, and if he keeps everyone alive, it could be really, really, really scary. But, of course, it's having to kind of, go through, because has he played any of the big orc teams yet? No. So he's played against TARDIS, who got a 2-0 win over him, but, if he can keep this team alive through kind of, like Bash and Astro, I think it's in a really good position to build for future seasons. So looking at Div 1 as a whole, we've got Miroscado in his chloroform at the top of the table there. Yeah, I've somehow managed to get up there, but I don't think I'm going to last very long there. I still see myself as kind of, like 4th out of those 4 that are there. Plus there's other teams that are still at play this week who I think can jump up above us. Papa has played. 2-0-1. Yeah, if Malka wins, he goes 3-0-1, doesn't he? So that he would jump right up into 2nd place. So, there's been quite a lot of... Well, I think me beating Reese was definitely an upset. And there's been, a few other games that have gone in a kind of like a surprising way to make, Div 1 a little bit closer than what it was. Like, we were predicting kind of like 2 tiers in Div 1 with, like, kind of all the established teams kind of occupying the top spots, and all of kind of, the teams that are newly promoted into Div 1 occupying the bottom ones. And, it kind of being like almost kind of, like 2 separate divisions, kind of like half and half. But with the way that the season's gone so far, especially Miroscado, it's looked to be a lot closer than that in general. You guys got anything to say about Div 1 before we look to wrap it all up, or?
There's some scary looking teams. I was just having a look at a few of the teams, like the White Lions and Shadow Hill Cowboys and Wes C's Wolves. There's some scary teams in this division.
Yeah, well, White Line versus Shadow Hill Cowboys, I believe, is still on for Monday night. So I'm sure Crusader will be casting that, and if not, Tommo, you might be around as well. So watch out for that, because that will be a good game.
Okay, so yeah, any news about the league in general that you guys want to talk about or anything? That Big O Observer thing that we've been talking about for a while now has been amazing. Who is it who does that again? It's
That's Monkey Chunks.
Yeah, like I highly recommend you guys, like, if you're not keeping up to date with this, it's posted on the subreddit. Guys, we have the best kind of, like, you guys kind of like making content and posting it and like interviews and everything and all the fluff that we do. I really believe that we're doing it the best, okay? And this is just another example of something that's been, like amazing. Especially when he's got, you've got you, Liam, who you're making your predictions and everything now in here, and Rodder now, who's always done his kind of, like winners and bruises thing, is now kind of, putting it out through this kind of publication as well. I think it's really, really awesome. So yeah, guys, check that out on the subreddit. Is there anything else, like any news that you guys want to throw out, or?
No news as such, but I have been streaming and recording my games too, if people want to check them out. So, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so let's go on to, we'll do our closing sign-offs here. Yeah, so Nubbs, thank you today for being our guest and everything. It was a pleasure having you on and picking your brain about some of the teams. Where can everyone who's watching check out your content?
Alrighty, so twitch.tv/Nubbs11 is where I stream, and then what is my YouTube? I don't actually know. I think if you search Nubbs BB, it should come up. But yeah, I usually try and stream my Big O game. I don't actually have good enough internet at my house, so I go to my brother's house and usually try and stream it, and then I try and upload it. Try and upload it relatively quickly relatively soon after I've played it, but like I'm a week behind. I'm actually uploading my round 3 and 4 right now, so they should be up soon on YouTube if people want to check them out too.
Yep, and we definitely recommend people do check them out. Rebel's always hungry for content. Again, thanks to Liam, like every week with him coming up with like the stats as well, with yourself and Morka keeping up our spreadsheets and everything with all the information on it. You got anything special you want to shout out this week, Liam?
No, not really. It's eventually I might make a Twitch account, but it depends if I have the time to, or the patience to.
Okay, awesome. Again, thanks for coming on. And as always, guys, thanks to all you guys watching. The Big O community is amazing. Best gaming community I've been part of easily. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time for the next Rebel Big O recap. Thank you very much. Bye bye. Okay.